think people who have never experienced pain have a really hard time imagining how bad it can get. It can destroy your soul. I was one of the first females in a forward attack aviation battalion, and at the time, females were having a really hard time breaking into those roles. We just weren't welcome. I did extremely well in basic training. I did very well with all of the physical aspects. I was a good soldier. Because I had abdominal pain and I was a woman, they thought she just has female problems and she shouldn't be here. You know, she's not fit for this kind of service. It took about 15 months for me to get access to a doctor. So when I finally saw a doctor, she operated on me immediately. At that point, I was in a sudden menopause. I was 21. They had just taken out both of my ovaries. While they were in there for that surgery, they accidentally put a hole in my small intestine. And I was very ill, and so they began proceedings to give me a medical discharge from the military. I started having bowel obstructions, and I started having right kidney obstructions. So when I felt another one starting, I would go to the emergency room and say, I'm having a bowel obstruction, I've had it before, I know what it feels like. And they wouldn't believe me. They just automatically assumed that I was faking and that I just wanted drugs. And then I would come back hours later screaming in pain as the obstructions progressed in severity. I was a pain patient, although I didn't call myself that, for about 10 years. And never did my doctor say, you know, let's refer you to a pain specialist. And I heard a statistic the other day that less than 1% of doctors have had any substantial training in pain management. And I know it's causing a lot of people suffering. I had about 10 major surgeries while I was in college. Each hospitalization was at least a month. I still graduated on time, and I graduated summa cum laude. And then I went straight on to graduate school, and I finished graduate school with a 4.0 GPA. Something inside me just kept saying, keep going, you can do it. So I did some research online, and so I asked my doctor, could I get this pump? And so at that point, he referred me to someone who could give me the pain pump. They implanted the pain pump in me. It's no exaggeration to say that the pump saved my life. The relief that I got from the pump was so profound that to me it was worth the surgical risk. For a year, I did great. I was physically active. I was a mother. I could do everything that I wanted to do. And then one day my pain came back, and I went to my doctors and I told them, and they ran a few tests and did a few things and sent me home. Months were going by, and then more than a year, and by this point I was back in the wheelchair, using a walker if I could walk at all. And it got so bad that I couldn't eat. It came to the point where I couldn't even drink water. I was so sick that I was afraid I was going to die, and they weren't trying to find out what was wrong with me. My husband was overseas, an active duty soldier overseas, so I had no one to advocate for me. Things just went from bad to worse. So the whole time I was laying in bed in unrelieved agony, I just kept thinking to myself, I have to find some good to come out of this, because otherwise it would destroy me. It was just too painful. And eventually, just by sheer luck, I was assigned a new pain doctor. And he took one look at me and he said, this woman is very ill. He decided to take an x-ray of my pain pump. And on the x-ray, he noticed that there was a kink in the tubing. Instead of the pain medicine being delivered to my spinal cord, it was leaking into my back. And so for that whole 2 years, I just wasn't getting the pain medicine. He did the surgery, and once they fixed my pump, I was immediately back to very good health. And that's when I had to teach myself how to walk again. It's wonderful to be able to do the things that I want to do, take care of my daughter, take care of my home. Go for a walk in the woods. My advice to people who are in pain is to keep looking until you find a doctor who can help you, because there is hope. The National Pain Foundation is an organization that's dedicated to finding people like me who are in pain and giving them education and resources so that they can help themselves. If you log onto that website, they can give you information about different conditions, and they can link you to doctors who will help you with your pain. Once I found a pain-trained doctor, my suffering was relieved, but it took me over 10 years to find one. So we need more physician education in pain management. It's a necessity. What kept me going during all my years of suffering was just believing that failure was not an option. I couldn't give up, and I have a life that I love. And so it was a choice, go crazy or try to get back to my life. I take it one day at a time. I can't really look too far into the future because I know that I will have more medical complications. I still have the tissue and it still swells and I still get kidney obstructions, but I will not have any more surgeries because I'm afraid I'll die, and I don't want to die that way. I live every day like it's my last day, and I don't take anything for granted. And things that need to be said, I say them, especially with my daughter and my husband. I basically live my life so that there are no loose ends. I keep them tied up so that when it does come time for me to die, I will not look back and regret anything that I didn't get to do.